Young.
So, Shelley, I think we made a wrong turn. I don't know if you can see this big crowd of people back there, but I saw a bunch of people holding up this hand sign. I think we're at some kind of alt-right white supremacist rally here in Taiwan.
So, Chris, that is the number 3 because Tsai Ing-wen's number 3 on the ballot. So they're telling people to vote for the president for president.
Why can't they do this then?
Some people were also doing that.
Well, I'm offended by the confusion that I got.
Okay. Maybe you need to get a little more sleep.
That's not possible.
You've been sleeping too much?
Shh. All right, so last night we were at the same spot covering the Han Kuo-yu, the KMT presidential candidate rally. This is now the Democratic Progressive Party rally for the Democratic DPP candidate Tsai Ing-wen, who's the incumbent. And, you know, it's interesting to see the difference between the two nights. I'd say I can't really gauge how many people there are. Like they said there was like 900,000 people last night.
I think there's some crowd inflation going on
Possibly.
At these rallies. When we were up there earlier, they said there were some 180,000 people here so far, but it's also, you know, we're actually...
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
The people are so different tonight versus last night. Like last night, everyone was waving the ROC flag. They had like weird hats and lots of swag, political swag. Everyone...
Say that again?
I was saying that today it just looked like normal people going to a concert or an event. Yesterday it looked like die-hard fans of something.
It was like going to a Styx concert.
Sure.
Did I date myself?
I think you dated yourself older than you actually
That's probably
are.
true.
Also,
We're not being mobbed by people like leaning over our shoulder or making bunny ears.
That was fun. But yeah, there's maybe a little bit of enthusiasm gap, but actually from what we were told and like the people we talked to, it seemed like everybody was expecting this rally to be much smaller than yesterday's rally, and it doesn't seem to be that much smaller.
Well, wasn't that because like the Han Kuo-yu rally yesterday was so big, a lot of people got kind of freaked out and so came out in force?
Did hear that anecdotally from some people, but it's, you know, can't gauge if that actually turned a lot of people out. I think also this is the night before the election, and the way that Taiwan's electoral system works, you have to go back to your registered household address to vote. So for a lot of people, they have to travel to vote, not where they're living now. Like maybe you came to Taipei and you're living here to work, but your household's registered in your hometown, so you got to travel now.
It's kind of a weird system. Like there's no absentee ballots either. Anyone who's Taiwanese has to come back here to vote.
The Taiwanese government said they got 5,200 some Taiwanese registered to come back from overseas to vote, which is double the number from the last election 4 years ago.
People are very on edge about this election on both sides, really.
There's a lot of anxiety. So but I would say that like it seems like for this rally a little bit more subdued, but not noticeably like sparse crowds. Also, I think for younger people, like I have to say, this does seem like age-wise a more diverse crowd than what we saw yesterday, right?
Yeah, that's true. I wouldn't call this a young rally, but it's definitely way more age diverse.
But there are, it is a thing that like younger people don't really come out to political rallies as much. And we were talking.
Though this one is going on later into the evening than yesterday's.
It's going on.
That kind of shows the age gap.
It goes on for an hour longer.
I know.
I don't think Tsai Ing-wen has even come out yet. It's going on for another hour behind us. We've had to back away once again.
We tried to get up front. It was a nightmare.
But to do the live, there's too many people to have any internet connection, so we had to back away a lot. So what you see around us is not indicative of what the actual crowd size is.
That's true.
We were talking a little bit about like the interesting difference in political, or like I was calling it democracy culture.
Oh yeah. This was interesting.
So like when we were in Hong Kong, you know, every time you went to a Hong Kong protest, you knew that like, okay, there would be people at a certain place, there would be all the different, political parties passing out stuff, there would be people passing out posters to hold during the rally. Like, it was just like a way that you could see every rally goes this way. And now that we've been to a few Taiwan political rallies, there's like food vendors, there's always these ones are very quiet right now because, again, the main part of the rally is several hundred feet behind us.
There's almost a night market vibe
and
to some of this.
A lot of like different kinds of political swag. Like we saw some photos of Tsai Ing-wen, little like cute Tsai Ing-wen figurines. Yesterday, people were selling ROC flags, but with Hangguoyu on top of the flag. It's an interesting choice.
We have not in person seen that much of that tonight.
No, but so you have like a lot of this different types of political culture in different places, which is pretty interesting to look at because, yeah.
Another big difference between tonight's rally and last night's is we saw some Hong Kong protesters here waving flags, getting, showing support for Taiwan's democracy, shouting still some of the slogans from Hong Kong, 5 demands, not one less. But you didn't see any of the Hong Kong protesters at the KMT rally last night.
Somehow I don't think that's their natural
habitat.
I was gonna say constituency, but yeah.
Either or. But Hong Kong has definitely played a big role. It's definitely played a role in this election. We'll have an episode coming out about that. The real key to that story will be how the election actually turns out. And nobody really knows how this election is going to go. There's a couple of weeks ago, it was polling that Tsai Ing-wen was
had a comfortable lead.
Yeah, but people are concerned. We've had experience over the past couple of years that polls are not always accurate. And so, people still having some slight internet problems. But what I was saying is it's going to be interesting to see, like, if Tsai Ing-wen wins, how much does Han Kuo-yu lose by? Is it a big margin? Is it a tiny margin? How much of the legislature goes to the KMT or DPP? So there's going to be a lot of interesting analysis that we're going to have to be doing after this election wraps.
Which we will be doing tomorrow.
We're going to have a late night.
And a live stream. Well, I guess...
and a live stream, yeah. We're moving back now, closer to the action.
Lighting issue.
Lighting issue. Okay. Yes, that we will be live streaming tomorrow night during the actual election itself. So stay tuned, because really this election does affect all of you watching, because how Taiwan stands up to the Chinese Communist Party, which is a big part of this election, does kind of set the course for what will happen to the rest of the world as well. And all I can say is thank goodness the 7-Elevens in Taiwan are amazing, because we can get lots of food and coffee to keep us going all night long tomorrow night.
Well, I think how late it goes depends on how tight the race is. Like, they could call it by 8 or 9 p.m., or we could not know until like 1 in the morning.
I hope it's earlier. I'd like to get to sleep.
We're a little sleep deprived.
Yeah.
You might have noticed.
Yeah. It happens on the things. So we can start taking some questions from people, but...
one thing, speaking of the Chinese Communist Party influence on the election, to bring up is the disinformation campaign that's been going on.
Oh, right. Let's get into that, and then we'll do some questions.
So an interesting thing that's been happening is that the Chinese Communist Party has been using more social media.
I'm sorry, I just saw the thumbnail Matt used for the live. That's pretty great.
That's pretty great. I did not notice that guy's hat when we walked in, but good job, Matt.
Good job, Matt. Yeah, go ahead, Shelley.
The disinformation campaign, they're using a lot. The new thing this time is actually YouTube, which...
We had nothing to do with it, I swear.
So the thing is, like, there's a lot of, just like on American English language YouTube, there's a lot of YouTube personalities that provide political commentary. So there have been more and more people talking about Taiwan politics on YouTube. The key is that some of these people are actually, like, there's this one guy whose name is Zhang Xida, and he has a YouTube show called Xida on Taiwan, where he analyzes Taiwanese politics. And a lot of people think he's Taiwanese because he sometimes speaks in Hokkien, which is a dialect that's used in large parts of southern China, Southeast Asia, but also like 70% of Taiwanese people speak Hokkien. But the thing is, Zhang Xida is not Taiwanese. He's actually a employee of the state-run China National Radio.
Whoops.
So here is a Chinese state-run media kind of having a political commentary show on YouTube that's trying to influence how people feel about Taiwanese politics while disguising it as like some Taiwanese guy's opinion. Also, there are problems with content farms on Facebook churning out a bunch of
a lot of the same things you heard in the 2016 U.S. presidential election.
And the key here, again, familiar with what happened in the 2016 U.S. election, is they're not necessarily just trying to spew out like pro-Chinese Communist Party propaganda. They're actually trying to also divide Taiwanese society. That might sound a little familiar.
Yeah, just making people fight. That's the big thing. But social media has played a big role in these elections. Tsai Ing-wen has done a lot of collaborations with YouTubers, Taiwanese YouTubers, to try and reach a younger audience. Sadly, she did not reach out to us.
Are you a Taiwanese YouTuber?
Well, yeah, I'm in Taiwan. I am YouTubing. I am a Taiwanese YouTuber currently.
I'm not sure that's how it works, Chris.
Yeah?
Well, you could become one. You could just give up China Uncensored, move to Taiwan, and start doing like episodes about Taiwan 小吃.
大家好，我是 what's my Chinese name? Do I have one? Chapuar.
Is that really your Chinese name?
I don't know. Matt just told me it. I should get a Chinese name. Okay.
If you have suggestions for Chris's
I'm an
Chinese
American
name.
YouTuber in Taiwan.
Well, I mean, there is a niche for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But yeah, you could just like talk about how great Taiwanese food is.
Taiwanese food is great. That is loud.
I think this is like hyping up before Tsai gets on stage.
But nothing was as crazy as the rally last night where we were walking through the crowd and suddenly this giant ROC flag started coming across the crowd.
And it was just heading straight for us. Like people were kind of just overhead, pushing it back. So we're walking forward, and then it was like, there's no way to escape.
Yeah, we're looking like, we're okay, I guess
just
we're going to be part of this now.
Just duck, and it kind of had flashbacks to gym class. Did you ever do that, like the parachute thing? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, that reminds me of grade school a bit.
Yes.
But, all right. Anything else you wanted to say about the disinformation?
No, I'm sure we'll talk about it more. There's a lot of disinformation involving traditional Taiwanese media too, but we can get into that.
Yeah. All right, so to answer some questions, start asking us questions. But first up is Robert Hardy, who donated $38 Hong Kong. Taiwan's democracy is exclusively Taiwanese. Please don't call it Chinese democracy like your last vid. Well, that was an ironic joke because the reason we call it that is the Chinese Communist Party says Chinese people are not ready for democracy, and ethnically the people in...
So Chris was trying to troll the CCP.
Yes.
But I think you actually managed to troll a bunch of people who were offended that you said Chinese instead of Taiwanese.
Yeah,
so
it gets
a little
touchy.
bit of a backfire there.
I need to change my display setting on my phone.
So while Chris is doing that, I will talk briefly
But thank you
about...
for the donation.
Okay, here we go.
Okay. What were you going to briefly talk about? I'm curious.
I was just going to talk about the disinformation and the red media issue, but...
Okay, carry on.
Okay, so...
questions? Start sending them.
There was a lot of trouble in Taiwan. Taiwan has a huge, diverse, media market, but one of the problems is that there are a lot of media that are either bought out by, taken over in different ways by the Chinese Communist Party. So they call these red media, and there was a big rally over the summer protesting against red media that got hundreds of thousands of people out into the streets. So this is a big problem for Taiwan. So what we were talking about with social media disinformation, it's kind of in a way just an extension of what they're already doing with traditional mainstream media in Taiwan. So there's problems all around.
Remind people where we are right now.
Right now we are at a rally we are several hundred feet away from a rally for the current Taiwanese president Tsai Ing-wen and her party, the Democratic Progressive Party, the DPP. tomorrow, Saturday, is Taiwan's presidential elections. So this is like the last, they're calling it like a super rally, last rally before the elections. And you can hear behind us, there's a lot of noise coming. I think they're hyping up the audience before Tsai comes on stage. Oh, good, air horns.
Yep. Okay, here's a question from John Anderson TV. How do you think this election could impact relations in the Pacific? That's a big issue because if, for example, Taiwan votes KMT, Hanko Yu Goods in office, that's really going to change how that's going to change the U.S.-Taiwan relationship. And that, in turn, will greatly affect U.S. policy in the Indo-Pacific region. If a more friendly Taiwanese government comes in, there could be a total change in U.S.-China relations. It could get a lot closer. It could become a real barrier to the Communist Party's expansionism in the Pacific.
In terms of friendlier, Tsai Ing-wen, the current incumbent president, her administration has definitely been reaching out more towards the U.S. Like, for example, Tsai called Donald Trump after his election win, and Donald Trump took the call, which led to a 2-day freakout.
Yeah. Because that was the first time U.S. President-elect had taken a call from the president of Taiwan. So that was unprecedented.
That was unprecedented.
Nice, Shelley. So yeah, and the Trump administration has also been reaching out more to Taiwan than any other administration
Not
as
just
well.
the Trump administration, but the U.S. Congress as well has passed the Taiwan Travel Act, allowing senior U.S. officials to travel to Taiwan, and also, they've finally, after 4 years or so, sold F-16s again to Taiwan. So there's a lot more friendly feeling towards Taiwan, but the U.S. government in general, which definitely also has to do with what's happening with China-U.S. relations. In terms of the Pacific as well, I would say that Taiwan has had a bunch of these Pacific island nations in the South Pacific who were some of their only remaining diplomatic allies that the Chinese Communist Party has been poaching one by one. And if Tsai Ing-wen wins again, I think that process is going to keep going and maybe even speed up. They're trying to isolate Taiwan by buying off all of their diplomatic allies, basically.
Yeah. All right, Disney Princess of Mars, interesting story, but not a great movie. Asks, the real question is, does it really count if there's no tear gas? Shelley and I were talking about this earlier. We definitely are having Hong Kong flashbacks of being in a crowd of people. And it's oh, they're able to do this and there's no riot police shooting at them. It must be a nice change for the Hong Kong protesters who are here as well.
I mean, they're still wearing masks, and I don't blame them.
Yes.
But what was interesting to me, I was taking some photos of the crowd, and some people just wear masks for air quality or hygiene reasons here. So I was taking pictures of people and then being oh, I don't have to worry about blurring people's faces because they're at a political rally here in Taiwan. I don't have to worry that somebody I take a photo of is going to get arrested because of that photo.
All right. Well, I'm getting some messages about Bernie Sanders being responsible for 9/11. I don't think that's the right topic. Let's see. Oh, we got one right there. Zai Zai donated $24.99 US and says Taiwan Jiao with the flexing arm emoji. Jiao is a Chinese word for hey, it means add oil. It's keep going, you're doing good. In Hong Kong, you hear people say Hong Kong Jiao during the protests. They're saying Taiwan Jiao.
The DPP chant is actually Taiwan needs to win. Taiwan will win. But in English, they've, it says let's win on all of their.
Wanna be criminal, man. You can do whatever you want to do if you put your heart to it. Ask, do you know which way older Taiwanese lean? Taiwan is a fairly aged demographic, so the elderly vote matters a lot. Elderly or the older voter turnout in the last election was something 80%.
74% versus 58% for people under from like 20 to 30. So
Yeah.
voting age starts at 20 here.
But there is a lot of older folk who support the DPP as well. So even though the KMT does tend to skew older than DPP, I don't really know exactly by how much.
Yeah, KMT voters tend to be older. They tend to turn out more reliably, the older voters.
Because it is a little easier for the older voters to vote than it is for the younger folk.
Historically in Taiwan, there's been kind of people were asking yesterday if there's an urban-rural divide. There kind of is, but it actually manifests more as like a north-south divide because Taipei, the biggest city, the capital, is in the north. And the southern areas have been historically more DPP strongholds, actually,
But
versus
that's
north.
kind of been changing too.
Yes. So Han Kuo-yu, the KMT presidential candidate, he last year he won the mayor of a city called Kaohsiung in southern Taiwan that had been held by the DPP for 20 years.
Was it last year or now in 2018? Remember, we're
It
in
was-
2020.
It was, was it?
Yeah.
It was.
Well, I know there were
2018?
elections in 2018 where the DPP lost big, and Tsai Ing-wen actually stepped down as the chairwoman of the DPP, and that was kind of a sign of like, things are shifting back to the KMT. Tsai Ing-wen might not even get the nomination for 2020, but things have changed. Hong Kong protests did play a part in that,
Okay.
as well as some other internal things.
Yeah, so I keep forgetting it's 2020.
Ooh.
But what I also was forgetting was that he only served like as mayor for 6 months before starting to run for president, which he said he was not going to do. So actually now there is a recall movement going on in Kaohsiung to recall Han Kuo-yu as their mayor because people have gotten disgruntled at the fact that he promised to come in and like fix Kaohsiung, and then 6 months later he's off trying to run for president. So.
Very interesting. Okay, we have some donations I want to get to. Martin Peterson donated $100 new Taiwan dollars. Says, thanks for the great show. Keep it up, Jayo. Thank you. All right, then we have this one. Siban K, thank you again. Donated $5. Always like your support. Would Taiwan be part of an Asian NATO, or would that be too provocative with the CCP? What about putting a naval base in Taiwan? Also, well, I'm not going to read the last thing he says. That's just
He
ridiculous.
says more math.
I don't think that's an appropriate thing to say. No, Matt is very good. That really sounded condescending.
Matt made a sad face.
Let's give a big thank you for Matt, who's doing so much great work behind the camera.
He is currently
where
holding.
he belongs. No, I'm kidding.
Oh,
I'm kidding.
come on.
Oh, Matt's looking at me. No, I love Matt on camera. You wanted to say hi on the camera, Matt? He just shakes his head. I dug a hole. There's been a lot of talk about doing an Asian NATO kind of thing. What shall
I was gonna say that would be very provocative.
It would be super duper provocative, as well as putting a naval base in Taiwan.
Oh yeah, that would be.
There are like degrees in that the U.S. and Taiwan can escalate their relationship, but jumping to that would be huge. I mean,
that the U.S. doesn't even recognize Taiwan fully as a country.
there's no ambassador. Technically, there's no ambassador.
So if you're not familiar with how this works, there are these Taiwanese cultural institutes in the U.S. that are their embassies and consulates, but we can't call them that because we don't have official diplomatic relations with Taiwan. So suddenly being like, hey, you're part of Asian NATO would be skipping several steps.
Yeah.
This is the things that Taiwanese people are asking for. Are things like maybe the Taiwan military can join naval exercises that are going on with the U.S. That the U.S.
In the
holds in the Pacific Ocean with South Korea and Japan and India and stuff like that. So they're not asking to be part of Asian NATO yet.
Yeah. Let's see. Victor in OXS donated $5 Canadian. Asks, can Agent Smith speak/read Chinese? Well, I don't know about Agent Smith, but
we've never met Agent Smith.
that's true. I can speak and read a little bit of Chinese, but Shelley is our Chinese speaker.
Although I'm not very good at reading traditional Chinese characters.
Which is a problem in Taiwan.
That's one of my goals for this year, is to get way better at reading traditional Chinese. And so when we go out to eat, it's somewhat of a crapshoot.
All right, let's see what else we have here. Whoa. Oh, and just so everyone knows, if you are in Taiwan, we are having a fan meetup on Sunday. We have a video up with the details. I also posted about it on the China Uncensored Instagram and Twitter. And Shelley retweeted as well. By the way, definitely follow Shelley on Twitter. She's getting a lot of great stuff out there that I don't always have time to social media myself.
My Twitter handle is @Shellzhang, SHELZHANG.
Meta Tegra says, support Hong Kong from Canada. That's great.
What is Canada going to do to Hong Kong? Oh, from Canada. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Whoa.
We're a little tired.
We are. Multi Grove donated $250 Australian, do you think? What's the difference between the KMT and DPP? The biggest difference is how they view China. The KMT, ironically being the extension of the Kuomintang that fought the Chinese Communist Party and lost and had to retreat to Taiwan in the first place, tends to lean more towards...
now does
unification. And that's a broad thing that just kind of means some kind of working relationship with the Chinese
unification. Some people think eventually maybe we'll unify with China again. Originally the KMT wanted to, of course, retake the mainland. But that's probably looking less and less likely. But they are now kind of more pro-China in a lot of ways, pro-China business ties.
Economic development.
Definitely. So that's one difference, whereas the DPP, the Democratic Progressive Party, started off as more like Taiwan. Originally they were Taiwan independence, but now their position is more like status quo Taiwan sovereignty. We are a country, so we don't have to say we're independent. We don't have to declare independence, but we don't need to just have closer ties with China. We should, have closer ties with other countries, and we should even Taiwan kind of went a little bit of a step further and said we don't necessarily agree with the idea that there's only one China, which is called the 1992 consensus. So there's definitely a range of different things, and even younger Taiwanese people, what's happening is more and more people are identifying as Taiwanese and not Chinese.
Like the person who was upset, the people who are upset that I called the last live Chinese democracy when it should be Taiwanese democracy. So that's a sore point for some people. Okay, let's see.
I can understand, because it kind of there is a certain amount of erasure going on, so that if you don't talk about Taiwanese or Taiwan, then the feeling is you're kind of buying more into the Chinese Communist Party's propaganda about China, one China, and all this stuff. So it's, like Chris said, touchy.
Yeah. TK2887 asks, how good are the noodles in Taiwan? I'd say pretty good. It seems there's a lot of dishes in Taiwan that are based on the idea of you have noodles or rice and some meat flavoring on it. Not actual meat, just like meat sauce.
No, there's meat. It's just little bits of meat.
And we have that kind of made us realize that there was a time when this country was a little more hard off than it is today. And I said country too, so that's a touchy subject. Oh, come on, phone. What was that, Matt?
It's almost 30 minutes.
Okay. All right, so we'll probably start wrapping it up soon, maybe just one or two more questions. Let me know if you see anything good.
Oh, good, Chris Chapel.
Yeah, so we're doing a thing right now. Yeah, hey, look at that.
Thank you.
Oh, thanks so much. Let's see.
It was pretty sweet earlier, because Chris kind of stands out since he's a white guy wearing a suit.
With the beard.
Pushing his way through the crowd of Taiwanese people, and this older couple was like, where are you from? What do you do? And then they wanted to gift Chris a flag that said, one of the little campaign flags that said, Taiwan, let's win. on it.
Yeah. I'm a terrible multitasker, by the way. Sashrin donated $14.99 Australian. Do you think that there will be gifts and red envelopes given to the older voters that support the party that is closer ties to the CCP, like what happened in Hong Kong? Well, again, the KMT's whole thing is like we need to have closer ties with China for economic development.
I think he's asking if people's votes are going to be bought.
Well, this is what I'm getting at. In a way, it is the promise of money that is getting these votes. If there's going to be actual bribery, I don't think that would be enough to really... I haven't heard anything about that myself.
That might be a little bit of a problem, being that Taiwan recently passed an anti-infiltration law.
Which can carry like a maximum penalty of life in prison?
No, that's for...
that was
for the espionage.
The espionage.
Part of it. But there are consequences for taking money and from a foreign power and then doing something political because you've been given that money. So probably they're not going to be outright red envelopes, but
it is the economics.
I mean, what Han Kuo-yu, the KMT candidate, has kept saying is like, let's get rich, let's make money. So that's his promise in terms of like, if he gets elected president, we're going to have closer economic ties with China, which will make us all rich.
And think of the children in their future. They need the money. Momo donated $1.99, says, hello, love from Hong Kong. Thank you, and love back to Hong Kong. You guys, I just saw there was like a report that came out that like so many people are suffering from like PTSD. It's just really not great. I feel so bad for everyone in Hong Kong. Last question. Let's see if I can find a question. Well, I think we'll call that a wrap for tonight. Again, we will be doing a live broadcast tomorrow during the election. Tune in for that. We'll be mosquitoes. That'll be a lot of fun. And I also just want to say thank you to Matt, who's doing such a great job organizing us and holding the camera, and I really do treasure and value him. He's gritting his teeth. Okay. Hopefully I'll be here tomorrow for the next broadcast. Otherwise, it might just be Matt and Shelley. Love you guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.